What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, in this video, I want to highlight perhaps the most influential R&B group in history. They definitely had staying power. They have been part of the music industry from the 1950s into well into the 21st century. And they were always able to adapt to the changing times and taste, but never relinquishing their authenticity. And of course, I'm talking about the Isley brothers. There have been different incarnations of the Isley brothers, different generations, but they've always been able to put out excellent quality, great music, timeless classics. And they've been influential to many artists since the Isley brothers were in their primes. The Isley brothers were formed back in 1954, originally as a vocal trio consisting of brothers O'Kelly Jr., Rudolph, and Ronald Isley. Another brother named Vernon joined them shortly before his tragic death from a hit-and-run accident. First signed to RCA in the late 1950s, their trio first charted single was Shout, which, although not a big hit, has become one of the most classic tunes over time. Another one of their more well-known originals, Twist and Shout, finally made it to the top 20 pop chart in 1962, just before the Beatles' more famous version outsold it. Because of the success of Twist and Shout, the brothers were able to establish their own label, but it proved to be short-lived. Then they signed to Motown and next to T-Neck label, the last which they jump-started their run of hit singles with It's Your Thing in 1969. And the last, the 1970s began, and that would be the decade that the Isley brothers would truly make their mark. Other big hits would be upcoming, including The Love the One You're With, Pop That Thing, Work to Do, That Lady, Layaway, What It Comes Down to, Summer Breeze, Live It Up, Midnight Sky, Fight the Power, Who Loves You Better, Harvest for the World, The Pride, Take Me to the Next Phase, I Want to Be with You, Don't Say Goodnight, It's Time for Love, Inside You, Choosy Lover, Between the Sheets, and so many others. They put out some music, all released on T-Neck label. During that time, the brothers had transitioned from a vocal act to a full-time self-contained musical group with the addition of younger brothers Ernie and Marvin Isley, as well as Rudolph's brother-in-law, Chris Jasper. They have survived not only several personnel shifts, but also the musical trends that included the British invasion and disco. They even made themselves as one of the chief pioneers of the subgenre called Quiet Storm in the 1980s, and even worked with recent R&B and hip-hop artists into the 1990s. As the 1980s arrived, the Isley brothers remained as popular as ever. However, Jasper and brothers Ernie and Marvin left in 1984 to form their own group, Isley Jasper Isley. 2 years later, O'Kelly succumbed to a heart attack. In 1989, Rudolph left the band and retired from the music industry for good to answer another call, becoming a minister. Ronald, Ernie, and Marvin Isley revived the group in 1991, releasing another album, Mission to Please. However, another blow struck the band when Marvin was suffering from diabetes. The condition left him with no choice but to amputate both of his legs. This left Ronald and Ernie to carry on the Isley brothers' name as a duo. In 2001, the Isley duo released Eternal, which featured artists such as Jill Scott and Jimmy Jam. The album featured the single Contagious, which became a top 20 hit at number 19. Ronald soon had a name of his own as his character Mr. Biggs in R. Kelly's music video of the latter's hit Down Low. In 2003, the duo released another album, Body Kiss, which became their second number one album on the Billboard 200, reaching gold status. 2006's Baby Making Music also became a top 10 pop album hit. Ronald Isley was released from prison in 2010 after serving his sentence born out of his tax evasion charges back in 2006. Tragedy rocked the brothers as Marvin died later that year from complications brought on by diabetes. The Isley brothers were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 1992. They are now considered R&B and soul legends, and their legacy will live on. And they, saying I think their peak period, of course, was the 1970s. I mean, they had such a huge influence as far as music is concerned on that particular decade. Um, I mean, like I said, that lady peaked at number 6 on the pop chart. Fight the Power peaked at number 4. They had numerous top 10 R&B singles in the 1970s. And a lot of the music that you hear today, whether it's R&B or whether it's rap, many of them sample, beats from the Isley Brothers. Um, for instance, like me, I think my favorite song from them is "Voyage to Atlantis." So, you know, which is a song I didn't even mention. But yeah, when it comes to the most influential R&B group, I think it's them, man. Just because of how long they were able to, and still to this day, how long they've been relevant and still putting out great music. But anyway, just want to show love to the Isley Brothers.